Hello everyone, you're welcome to Mathematics Tour. This is the fourth video out of the 8 videos on fractions, decimals and percentages. In this video, I will show you 4 ways of adding 2 fractions. If you are seeing this channel for the first time, please kindly subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive a notification anytime I upload a new video. Also, like, comment and share this video. It's very important for you to look into the following before we look into some examples. It's very wrong to add the numerators and the denominators of 2 fractions directly. Take for instance, 2 out of 3 add 4 out of 7. So this is never equals to 2 add 4, that is adding these 2 numerators, over 3 add 7. So this is impossible, but if they have the same denominator, you can easily add the numerators and pick the denominator. Take for instance, 2 out of 7 add 3 out of 7. So in this case, the 2 fractions have the same denominator, so we can easily add the numerators directly, then you pick the denominator, so you have 5 out of 7. It is very important for you to take note of this. You can only add the numerators directly if and only if the 2 fractions have the same denominator. In this video, I will focus on adding 2 fractions with different denominators by using 4 methods. Let's look into the first example. Evaluate 1 out of 6, add 1 out of 5. These fractions 1 out of 6 and 1 out of 5 are referred to as Egyptian fractions. An Egyptian fraction is the sum of any number of different denominators, each with numerator of 1. So I will discuss Egyptian fractions in details at the end of this series. Let's look into the first method. So here we're going to use LCM method. So in this case, we need to find the LCM of 5 and 6. So there are 2 different ways you could do this. You can just multiply 6 by 5, that is 30. Is there any number that can go in 6 and 5 aside 1? No. That means 30 is the LCM. So that is the shortcut to that. You can see my video on LCM. So alternatively, you can just write 6 and 5 here. Then you look for a number that can go in either 6 or 5. In this case, 2. 2 goes in 6 3 times. 2 cannot go in 5, so we'll repeat 5. So the next one is 3. 3 can go in 3 once. 3 cannot go in 5, we'll repeat 5. And finally, 5 can go in 5, so you have 1 1 here. So that means the LCM is 2 times 3, 6, 6 times 5, 30. So then we can now say 30 divided by this 6, that will give us 5. Then we say 5 multiplied by this numerator here. So the same thing we will say, that is add. Then we will say 30 divided by 5, that is 6, times this numerator here, that is 1. So we can now simplify this to be 5 times 1, 5, add 6 times 1, 6 out of 30, and our answer will be 11 out of 30. So that is the solution to that question. Let's look into the second method, which is cross multiply. So in this case, we have to multiply these 5 and 6. Then that will be 6 times 5, that is 30. Then the next thing we do is to multiply 1 by 5. That is the next thing we do. So that will be 5 by 1. Then add, we also multiply 6 by 1. So that will be 6 by 1. So if you do this, we're going to have 5 times 1 is 5, then add 6 times 1 is 6, then everything over 30, so which is 11 out of 30. Let's go to the third method, and that will be common denominator. So what we need to do here is to make the denominators to be the same, and to do this I will write 1 out of 6, then I will multiply by this denominator, that is by 5 by 5, then add, I also write 1 out of 5, then I also multiply it by what? By this denominator, which is 6 by 6 by 6. So we have 1 by 5, that is 5 out of 6 by 5, that is 30. Then add 1 by 6 is 6 over 5 times 6, 30. So we have common denominator, so we can directly add the numerators. That will be 5 add 6, then we'll pick 30. So this will add up to 11 out of 30. So that is the solution to that question. And the fourth method will be the grid method. So you can draw a box like this. Okay, so let's divide it into 2 columns and 2 rows. So we're going to write 1 out of 6 here. Then we have 1 out of 5 here. So we cross this, that is, this place is out of use. Then we'll now do 1 times 5, 5. Of course, we can't do 1 times 1 because we have already ruled out this. Then the next one will be 6 times 1. You have 6. 6 times 5, that is 30. So this is your denominator. So I have 30 here. Then you connect 6 and 5 together by using the given operator, which is addition. So we have 6 add 5. So that will be 11 out of 30. So that is the solution. So this is how to use the 4 different methods. Let's look into another example, that is example 2. So in this case, we have a whole number and a proper fraction. So how do we go about this? So let's go to the first method, that is LCM method. So in this case, we need to add the whole numbers. So if you add the whole numbers, we have 5 add 3. Okay, so we are left with 3 out of 8 add 1 out of 5. Okay, so we are going to add the whole numbers, that gives 8. Okay, then we need to solve the fractions inside the bracket. So using LCM method, okay, the LCM of 8 and 5 can be easily got by multiplying 8 by 5. That will be 40. Then is there a number that can go in both 8 and 5 aside 1? Obviously no. That means 40 is the LCM, and you can still go by using downward division like this. We have 2 goes in 8, that is 4 times. 2 cannot go in 5, we just repeat 5. 2 goes in 4 twice, we repeat 5 again. Then 2 goes in 2 once, then we repeat 5. And finally, we divide by 5, and we have the LCM to be 2 by 2, 4. 4 by 2, 8. 8 by 5, 40. So the LCM is still 40. Then we say 40 divided by this 8, that will be 5. 5 multiplied by the number on top of it, that is 3. Then add. Then we also say 40 divided by this 5, that will be 8 multiplied by the number on top of it, that is 1. So in this case, we have 8 whole. Then 5 times 3 gives 15. Add 8 times 1, 8 out of 40. So if you scroll down a little bit, so we have 8 whole, 23 out of 40. That is the simplest form of it, and that will be our final answer. Let's look into another method. So similarly, we need to add the whole numbers together. When we add the whole numbers, we have 8 whole number. So let's multiply the denominators. That will be 8 by 5, that is 40. Then we need to multiply 3 by 5. So that will be 5 times 3, 15. Okay, let me write it here. So we have 5 by 3. Then add. Then we need to multiply 8 and 1. Okay, so it will be 8 by 1. So that gives 8 whole, 15 add 8, everything over 40. So if you scroll down a little bit, we have 8 whole 23 out of 40. So that will be our final answer. Let's look into another method, that is common denominator. Similarly, we need to add 5 and 3 together, that is the whole numbers. We have 8 whole number, then common denominator will be 3 out of 8. So we multiply the first fraction by this denominator, which is 5, that is by 5 here, by 5 here. Then add 1 out of 5. This is the second fraction, so we multiply it by 8. So that will be by 8 by 8. So this will be 8 whole 15 out of 40. Then add 8 out of 40. So since they have the same denominator, that implies that you can directly add the numerators together. So this will be 8 whole 15 add 8 out of 40. So this will give us 8 whole 23 out of 40. Let's look into the last method, that is the fourth one, which is the grid method. So we also need to add the whole numbers. So this will be 8 whole. Then we can now draw the rectangle. Okay, so we divide it into 2 columns and 2 rows. So we cross out this. This is out of use. Then we have 3 out of 8 here. Then 1 out of 5. So of course we cannot say 3 times 1. 3 is impossible because we have ruled out this. Then we have 3 by 5, 15. Let's go to the next row. That will be 8 by 1. We have 8. Then 8 by 5, 40. So this will be your denominator. So don't forget that we already have 8 whole. Then the denominator is 40. Then we need to connect these two together by using the given operator, which is addition. That is 8 add 15. Then we have 8 whole. Then 23 out of 40. So this is pretty simple. So let's look into the third example. We are to evaluate 6 add 5 out of 11. Okay, so anytime you have questions like this or expressions like this, so don't disturb yourself by using any of the 4 methods. What you can do is to say your answer is 6 or 5 out of 11. So this is how you solve questions like this, because if you use any of the 4 methods, you still come to this. Take for instance, you have 3 add 1 out of 2. Okay, your answer will simply be 3 whole 1 out of 2. This will be the end of this video. In the next video, we will look into subtraction of fractions by using 4 methods.